There's a courtyard in Hangzhou, China, that has existed for 800 years. Inside the courtyard, in front of the tomb, there are iron statues, kneeling. For 8 centuries, people have walked past those statues and spat on them, kicked them. The statues have been destroyed, recast, destroyed again, and every time restored to the same position, kneeling. The tomb belongs to a general, one of the most revered heroes in Chinese history, executed at 39 by the very emperor he fought to defend. The kneeling statues represent the people responsible for his death. Here's the question I want to ask. What if we have the wrong man kneeling? Not because he was innocent, but the man who actually gives order is not in that courtyard. He is in a museum, in a portrait, looking dignified. His name, Emperor Gaozong. This is the story of how he made sure someone else took the blame. In 1127, the year of the Crusades in Europe, a northern empire invaded China. They did something almost unthinkable. They took the emperor prisoner, not just one, 2. The ruling emperor and his father, the entire imperial court marched north in chains. China was cut in half, what survived fled south. And for the next 2 decades, one question divided everything. Do we fight to take back the north, or do we accept what we've lost? Before we continue, let's meet the 3 main characters in our story. A general who was the most feared commander of his age. An emperor who couldn't afford to win. A chancellor who made himself useful. Their names: Yue Fei, Emperor Gaozong, Qin Hui. Remember the roles, the names will follow. The general's battle cry, the words he used to rally his troops, translated roughly as, "Bring back the 2 captive emperors, reclaim what was taken." To most people, this sounded like pure loyalty, restore what was stolen, reunite the country. But think about what that actually means. If the general marches north, if he wins, if he brings back the previous emperor, what happens to Gaozong? He steps down. He has to. He was never supposed to be emperor. He only got the throne because everyone above him was captured. The moment those people come back, his run ends. The general's greatest victory would be the emperor's destruction. Every battle won brought the emperor one step closer to losing everything. In 1140, the general pushed his campaign to within 40 miles of the old capital. His officers reported the path was open. Local people were riding to support them. The enemy was retreating. He sent words to the emperor asking permission to press forward. The emperor's response: 12 gold imperial tablets, the highest form of emergency command, sent one after another in one single day. Come back. Now the campaign is over. A man who sends 12 orders in one day is not conducting strategy. He is panicking. Yue Fei obeyed. He turned his army around. As he rode away, he said to his officers, 10 years of effort destroyed in a single day. He was right, but that was enough to get him killed. If you watch the Hanxin video, what comes next will feel familiar. Yue Fei was not politically naive. He understood exactly what world he was operating in. He simply refused to operate on its terms. He made 3 choices that sealed his fate. The first, he told the emperor who should inherit the throne. Gaozong had no surviving sons. Succession was the most sensitive question in the dynasty, not a topic generals were supposed to touch. The general raised it anyway. He believed it was his duty. The emperor took him by the hand, said very quietly, "You are a military man. That is not a matter for you." The words were gentle. The message was not. That was 1137. The retreat wouldn't come until 1140, 3 years later. From that moment, the emperor did not see a general. He saw a threat. The second, He said out loud what he thought of the retreat. 10 years of effort destroyed in a single day. A general who mourns his emperor's decision in front of his own army is no longer just a general. He becomes an alternative, a focal point for everyone who disagrees with the throne. The emperor heard those words, and he understood exactly what they meant. The third, he could not perform submission. After the retreat, Yue Fei asked to resign. The emperor refused, ordered him back. Some historians believe one symbolic gesture, not confession, just something that let the emperor feel his authority had been acknowledged, might have meant exile instead of execution. Yue Fei would not give it. He didn't calculate the cost. That's the point. A man who calculates would have burned. Yue Fei didn't bend because bending to him is already a kind of death. He just chose which kind came first. Now we come to the chancellor, and I want to be precise. This part of the story is easiest to get wrong in both directions. The simple version, he was a monster who murdered a hero. The revisionist version, he was just following orders, entirely innocent. Both versions are too simple. The truth is more uncomfortable than either. In 1127, a government official named Qin Hui was captured by the Qin Empire, a powerful northern state based in what is now northeastern China. He spent several years as a prisoner. Then, in 1130, he reappeared in the south, claiming he had escaped. His former colleagues were immediately suspicious. Nobody escaped from the Qin that easily. He arrived unharmed, with his wife, with his servants. The most widely accepted explanation among historians, the Qin Empire released him deliberately. He came back as a useful channel and possibly something more. Emperor Gaozong almost certainly knew this. He welcomed the chancellor back anyway. The emperor needed someone who could do what needed to be done. Negotiate peace, surprise officials who wanted to keep fighting, and eventually make the general disappear. He needed someone smart enough to run a complex political operation, and compromised enough that they couldn't say no. The chancellor was perfect, intelligent, experienced, structurally trapped. The suspicion about his time with the Qin Empire meant he needed the emperor's protection to survive. He could not refuse. A man with a clean reputation can't afford to say no. A man under suspicion cannot survive without imperial favor. This is how it works in any structure where power concentrates. You don't choose your instrument from the people who have options. You choose from the people who don't. Qin Hui rose to chancellor. From that position, he dismantled the war faction. Critics were demoted. Generals who pushed for northern campaigns found their supplies cut. The entire apparatus of government turned toward one goal, making the general's death possible. And through all of it, the emperor watched, with completely clean hands. In 1141, the general was arrested. The charge, plotting rebellion against the throne. The evidence, nothing. One official assigned to the case resigned rather than fabricate evidence. He was replaced. A senior general, one of the most respected men in the dynasty, went directly to the chancellor. He demanded an answer. What proof do you actually have against Yue Fei? The chancellor said 3 words, 莫须有. In English, maybe, just maybe, not sure. The general stared at him, then said, on maybe alone, how do you expect to convince the world? The chancellor had no answer, because by then the answer no longer mattered. The decision had already been made. Qin Hui still had choices, not infinite choices, not safe choices. He could have delayed, lost the paperwork, refused to push the accusation further. He didn't, and that matters, because even inside corrupt systems, human beings still make decisions. In January 1142, Yue Fei was killed in prison. He was 39 years old. 1 month later, the emperor signed a peace treaty with the Qin Empire. Tribute payments, territorial concessions, a formal acknowledgement of subordinate status. The previous emperor, Gaozong's brother, remained a prisoner in the north for the rest of his life. He never came home, and their father, the former emperor, had already died in captivity years earlier. Gaozong's throne was secure. So, who killed Yue Fei? The simple answer, the chancellor. He ran the investigation, he delivered the verdict. The complete answer, the emperor. He had motive, he had authority. Nothing of this scale happened without imperial approval. After Yue Fei's death, the emperor reigned for another 20 years. When he finally abdicated, his successor began rehabilitating the general's name, restoring his honor, rebuilding his reputation. The Emperor Gaozong was still alive. He watched all of this happen. He said nothing to stop it, he said nothing to correct it. He never said, "I ordered this." He let the chancellor carry the story. And the chancellor, who had died years before the abdication, was no longer there to complicate it. Qin Hui was guilty of executing the plan. Emperor Gaozong was guilty of creating it. For 800 years, one of them has been kneeling in iron. It isn't Gaozong. The most dangerous person in any system is not the one who commits the act. It's the one who creates the conditions and step back far enough that no one can see his hands. The statues are still kneeling, but now you know who is missing from that courtyard. Yue Fei knew exactly what was happening. He understood the danger. He had chances to bend, to say less, to flatter more, to give the emperor a way to feel safe. He refused every time. He died at 39 in a prison cell. Qin Hui chose differently. He adapted, he compromised, he helped carry out the system instead of fighting it. And for that, he lived. He died old, powerful, wealthy, still in office. History hated him for it, but history did not have to live his life. Two men, two survival strategies. One kept his principles and lost everything. The other bent with power and kept everything except his name. So here's the only question that matters. Which one would you have been if it was your life on the line? Tell me in the comments, I'll read every single one.